Hey guys, what's going on? It's Big Pasta 92 here, and I'm coming at you today with another quick TBC catch-up video. For those of you who might have skipped T4 entirely, or maybe you just didn't do as much Karazhan and Gruul's content as you wanted to in the first phase of TBC, this is going to be a quick catch-up guide for you to figure out how to get geared up, max level, and ready to get into SSC and the Eye. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to hit me with a like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, check out twitch.tv/BigPasta92. I'm probably live right now. Make sure to follow over there as well. Let's get started. The first tip that we're going to go over in getting back into TBC Classic, or just kind of getting back on the horse if you maybe fell off a little bit or maybe you want to re-roll, is I like to call this the progression triangle, right? So there's three things that you're going to need to progress in World of Warcraft TBC Classic, and you need it in Vanilla Classic as well, and I'm sure to an extent you'll need it in Lich King Classic. So this is valuable information. And that triangle goes as such: gear, friends, then your spec and rotation. So what that means is all three of these things will be paramount to your success, but you really only need two. For instance, now, if you have gear and friends, but you're in kind of a meme spec, nobody's really going to care. You guys are going to go clear the content eventually. It's not that hard. It just takes time and investment, right? So, if you have friends in the correct spec and rotation, people probably aren't going to care so much about your gear, right? You got your friends there. But if you have good gear and the correct spec and rotation, you really don't even need friends. You can make as many connections as you need to and progress through the content just because you're a pumper and you know what you're doing. So that's going to be super, super helpful. Just find the balance of the two, and that's going to make putting your groups together so much easier on a day-to-day basis. It's not even funny. Tip number 2 is make friends. Make friends with the community, especially your tanks and healers. If you get a good tank and a good healer, add them to your friends list, try and talk to them, try and be friendly with them. It is going to be immensely helpful, especially if they're on during the same hours that you are consistently. I also highly suggest that you try and make connections with these people and eventually use voice chat, use Discord to talk to these people, especially if you guys are going to constantly be on at the same time or on the same level. Obviously, people pass people up and level at different speeds and have different schedules, but making those connections is going to be paramount to your success going forward. And then just getting connected with the server, eventually finding a guild, it all goes hand in hand because these are very, very early MMO designs. They were designed for players to work together and thrive around community interaction. So if you're going in there solo, it's going to be very difficult for you to do it. Some people have weird hours. I know I have a lot of viewers, even one of my moderators in the stream, his hours are like 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. So it's really hard for him to progress on US East servers. So he's thinking about moving over to a Euro server. That might be something you have to entertain as well if your hours are screwed up. But generally, there are a lot of people on, even during those graveyard hours. You just got to find them, you got to connect with them, and you got to stay on pace with them. And then people quit the game. That's what it is. But you can't succeed without other players. Step number 3 kind of piggybacks off of step number 2. That is, play a tank, healer, or shaman. Now, shaman, it really doesn't matter what you are. I can tell you in my guild, especially in 25-man runs like Gruul's, we will sometimes just take an Ellie shaman regardless of gear, experience, anything, just to get a heroism and a damage group. So playing a shaman is actually a really, really big ticket for raids. But as far as like every group goes, every 5-man dungeon you're going to be doing along the way, or heroics, a tank and a healer is going to get you into a lot of groups. It's not going to be automatic, and it is a little bit more difficult, especially the tanking role. It can be very, very difficult, and people get frustrated in this game. It can be unforgiving as well. So that can be a deterrent, but I really suggest you push through it, because if you can get one of those characters and you can get into a solid guild, it's going to set you up to have success later on down the line on every single character that you make. Step number 4 is less days, more time. Now, I'll explain to you what I mean by that. If you play 4 days a week, but you only play like 3 hours a day, you're actually really limiting your ability to accomplish a lot of goals, just because it takes a long time to get things going in Classic. Usually right when you log on, you're doing a few things, checking, posting auctions, consumables, whatever. Then you log off, there's probably a little bit of a lag period as well, where you have 30 minutes, but not quite enough time to really get anything accomplished. You'll really find more success if you can cram the time into longer sessions. So if you have the ability to with your schedule, cut off days, add hours. So instead of playing 4 days a week, 3 hours a day, maybe play 2 days a week, 6 hours a day if that's possible for you, or 3 days a week, 4 hours a day, right? It's all about the longevity of the session, just because it does kind of take a lot of doing and networking just to get things started in World of Warcraft sometimes, and then there's always wipes and people DCing and just unreasonable people who leave, and there's all sorts of things that can go wrong along the way. So if you leave yourself with a really limited time window, you're not going to be using that time effectively, and it's going to slow you down. So try and avoid that as much as possible. Number 5 is probably the easiest and vaguest tip ever, but it is professions. You're going to want to have close to 375 max level professions once you hit level 70. It's not automatic. If you're 300 plus, you're probably in the right neighborhood. It's not going to take you too long to catch up. But it's very important that you find professions that are going to be, and they're going to vary from class to class. It's going to be very, very different, but it's good that you find good synergy with your professions because TBC can get expensive. If you're a mage, for instance, I highly suggest skinning and tailoring because you're going to need the tailoring to make your PvE gear, and the Black Morass farm is an incredible solo farm for mages, and if you have skinning, it's that much better. But yeah, professions are going to be a huge part of just keeping your money kind of constantly refilling so you can pay for your flying on alts, further profession stuff, raid consumes, and you don't have to go crazy with it, right? Gathering professions are always a good choice. So if it's your first character on the server, you could air to go that way, or you could just make a bunch. If you have a lot of characters in the server, you could just make a bunch of tailoring alts like I do. I have 4 tailoring alts. I use the spellcloth cooldowns every 3 days, and I just pay for my raid consumes that way. I do very little farming. I have 370s, and pretty much all of them are just raid logging at this point, and I level alts in my spare time, which leads me to my bonus tip here, guys. It's the tip and a half because I don't really consider it a tip. I think everybody kind of does this at this point in WoW if you play it seriously enough, and that's make alts. You're not always going to be able to get the group together for exactly what you need. You're not always going to, you could be on your healer, and every single group could be looking for a tank. There's going to be stuff that falls through the cracks in these older MMO designs that does make it harder. So the best advice I can give you is make an alt that you can just get on for an hour, grind out some quests, then log back on your main and try again later. If you get off entirely and play something else, you're probably not going to get back on. And, I mean, at least myself, I have a hard time convincing myself to get back on in that hour. But if I'm still on WoW, I find it much, much easier to be like, oh yeah, I wanted to run that heroic set to call us on my tank. Couldn't find a group an hour ago. Maybe let's double check. I'll log out in this in on my alts. So if you're looking to keep playing WoW, that's another good piece of advice I give you is make alts, because having a lot of characters is going to open up the options to what you can do and how fast you can progress down the line. But that's all for me, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, check out twitch.tv/BigPasta92. If you guys want to see any other videos, make sure to comment them or you can inbox them to me, and we'll see you next time. Bye.